I think co-ownership for a home is like the best way to get into property. That's just my personal opinion. It just makes sense. If you have someone that you trust and you're keen to buy a home with, it just makes sense because it's a lot easier to manage.
Yeah, the costs and everything.
I know so many people that are really struggling now that they've bought a home, and with obviously just life, everything's just
Cost
going
of
up.
living.
Actually hard for them to manage their mortgage now. So it's gotten to a point where like they're looking at just selling the home or something like that.
Welcome to Slice, Property Made Possible. We're a platform on a mission to reduce barriers to home ownership. This podcast is a safe space for our community to learn together and build the confidence required to start on their property journey. When you're ready to start, head along to slicetobuy.com and sign up for your free dashboard. Welcome back to another episode of Slice. We've got Dee Young joining us today. Thank you, Dee.
Thanks for having me on today.
So excited. So we actually came across some of your socials and that's how we decided to pull you in because you're 24 and have recently purchased your first home and are now looking at purchasing again.
Yes.
Awesome. Can you tell us a little bit about how that first home journey was for you?
I was 20 years old when we first started looking. Firstly, I co-own a home with my two older brothers. But yeah, we kind of just started looking. My dad mentioned, oh, you know what? You guys should buy a home. But it was only towards my brothers.
Yeah.
And then...
Really? So it was sort of, you were an afterthought?
Yeah, I was an afterthought. I was like just went over his head. I am like a lot younger than them. So he kind of didn't really take into thought that I could be helping
a part
towards.
of it,
Yeah. That was all good though. And then I kind of was just like, hold on a second. Like I'm really keen and interested in getting on buying my first home too. So me and my brothers decided to start looking at open homes, and then, that's how we kind of got into it.
Awesome. And where did you start looking?
We live and grew up in Takanini.
Mm-hmm.
We first started looking out in Papakura.
Cool.
So that was like our first area.
Were you looking at sort of new builds or existing? Because there's a lot of new builds now kind of popping up around there.
Existing.
Yeah,
not new build.
Did you have an understanding of what you guys might be able to afford together before you're starting looking, or you just started by looking and then sort of went to understand your finances and what you could afford?
Oh, yeah. So we actually kind of all talked together about how much that we were going to be able to put in.
Mm-hmm.
My brothers had like a lot larger of an amount to put in, whereas I had
older,
a bit, just being older, they had more work time to save and all of that. And then we kind of just discussed what we could put in and then started looking. Yeah, we had to get the whole
pre-approval.
Pre-approval and stuff.
And you did that, like it was always the three of you kind of that went through that financial conversation. It wasn't sort of an individual process or anything.
It was all three of us.
Cool.
Yeah.
So it's quite interesting where some people, they end up co-owning because they sort of start on that process by themselves and they realise actually it is a bit challenging because you can't share the costs if you don't have, someone to support you in. So that's really cool that you guys sort of identified that as an option from the get-go.
Yeah.
Great. And so where did you end up buying?
We bought out in East Auckland, Botany. It was kind of a nice change because we'd only lived out south our whole life. So coming out east, it was like, oh, this is nice and different.
Yeah.
But we love the area now.
And you're all living in the home together?
Yep. So we all lived there. We've been there for just over 3 years now. It's going good.
How old are both of your brothers as well?
Now my oldest brother is 30.
Yeah.
I think he's 28. Yeah.
So still all quite young. I mean, the average age is 37 to buy a home now. So you're all sort of,
Oh, didn't know that.
Yeah. Not when you co-own though. You can definitely get in sooner. But I think that's the challenge is a lot of people don't necessarily think outside of the box and therefore it takes them a lot longer to get into your position. What were some of the biggest challenges with that home buying process?
I would say actually being accepted.
Yeah.
So
for pre-approval and finance or?
The pre-approval and finance side for us went really smoothly.
Yeah.
It was more getting our offer for the house approved. We had a look at so many different houses and we also got declined or our offer wasn't the highest one. So we
Finding
lost.
the property was the challenge and kind of the competition in market.
Yeah, just the competition and just finding the right house for all three of us.
Yeah.
Because we all had to agree on what we wanted our home to look like.
Yeah, you have to have shared kind of expectations.
Who was getting what room and little things like that.
And what do you want in a house as well, or even what area are you looking at? How did you guys kind of navigate that? Because it can be hard with, two people. It can be hard as an individual. There aren't that many people that actually don't buy with someone else. It's normally at least a partner. But yeah, with three, there's obviously a few more expectations or, a few more opinions to manage. So how did you guys kind of work through those?
Honestly, like me and my brothers are all really chill.
Yeah.
So we get along really well. We kind of all have similar ideas of what we wanted.
Yeah.
It was just like at least there has to be 3 bedrooms. We weren't too fussed on like bathroom situations, but I got lucky with the ensuite.
Nice.
I am the girl, so.
Yeah.
But it was just, we wanted our space to just be enough for us.
Yeah.
For a first home.
Yeah, so you were realistic in your expectations.
We could have, honestly, we could have had a much larger loan that we could have got out, but we decided to go with less because it was more manageable for us.
Yeah, and then you can use it as a stepping stone and kind of move on to that next property sooner.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. And now you are looking at that second property, kind of what does that journey look like for you?
A lot more challenging, I'll tell you that. Because I'm looking at it by myself, that means I have to be obviously saving more of a deposit. How am I going to manage the repayments? That's a big one for me. Because
when you're with someone else, you can share those repayments. And not only that, but you can share the cost of living in the home, like your power, your net and everything.
Yeah, it's a lot more manageable when you're doing it with other people. But going to look at my second home by myself is a completely different experience.
Yeah.
But
I guess you have a little bit of confidence though, having gone through the process once with other people. So now you can kind of use that knowledge and that experience to go again.
Yeah.
And so you're with that sort of journey towards your second home, is it something that's in the very near future or are you sort of saving your deposit still? Where are you at with that?
Very beginning stages for me. So I wouldn't say like super soon, but it's more just something I'm working towards, hopefully like in a few years' time. We'll see actually, because anything can happen,
Anything can happen.
Yeah, especially with what I do for work as well. Like it can be possible within the next year if I
Let's talk a little bit about that as well. So tell us a little bit about your career and what you're doing for work, Dee.
So what I currently do is I do affiliate marketing online. And that's just where I sell products on behalf of a company and I earn commissions by doing so. That is actually my full-time job. That's what I do. That's how I pay all my bills. That's how I live, go traveling. But I also have a clothing rental. Mm-hmm. So that's a very side hustle startup for me at the moment. I'm hoping to make it something more.
So affiliate marketing as well, just going back to that, because a lot of people don't necessarily grasp that concept or may have heard of it.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about what that looks like for you?
It is all commission based. Mm-hmm. It's really just being able to sell a product and then you earn commissions from it.
Yeah. And you sort of do that through your content creation?
Yeah. Yeah, so using social media, you can also do ads, it could also just be word of mouth. Yeah. Those sort of things.
So you provide sort of a link potentially and then the customer or your follower or whomever accesses that link and the affiliate marketer or the person, you're the affiliate marketer I guess in that case, but the supplier that's selling the goods then gives you a payment for sending that traffic to their product.
Yeah, so I'm just like the middleman almost. I'm the distributor.
Yeah.
And we have our company that we're aligned with and the customer.
Awesome. And that's really cool that you've managed to make that full time as well, because was that always the way or?
Nah, so when I first started, I was in a government role.
Mm-hmm. Very different.
Yeah, completely different. I was wearing a uniform and everything. Now I just lounge around at home in my pajamas. I was just doing it on the side and it's just something that takes time and consistency. You you have to have dedication and to not give up.
Yeah.
Really, there was so many times where I could have given up and just been like, you know what, this online thing just isn't for me. I'm just gonna stick at my government job. But I kept pushing through, and then it just slowly started building. It was like, hold on a second, I'm not making hundreds now, I'm making thousands.
Yeah.
I can actually start living off this. That's how it changed.
Awesome. And what is your primary platform? Like, we came across you on Instagram, because that's sort of, I think, also my generation. Like, I'm more of an Instagrammer, and then I dabble on TikTok. But are you sort of in the TikTok space as well?
I'm mainly on Instagram, but I'm dabbling in TikTok as well.
Yeah. But interesting that I think a lot of people understand maybe that content, or that are working in the content space, are actually really focused in the TikTok space now.
Yeah.
But you can obviously build that following and have success on Instagram still.
Yeah, I started on Instagram. So like, I don't have a massive following or anything, but what I do is like inspiring enough for people to be watching.
Yeah, I think that's really, really interesting as well, is that it's not always quantity, but it's the quality of those followers.
Yeah.
And whether or not they're actually going to convert. I mean, that's interesting from our platform, because we're obviously, a big part of what we're doing is trying to educate and give free information to people. And to do that, we actually have to reach a certain audience. And we're not necessarily as worried about people converting through. We're just trying to reach and give education. But if you are trying to monetize and make money from, you know, your social content, you do sort of need those people to actually click the links or, you know, take a certain action. Followers are great, and you can maybe, you know, get sponsorships for things, but that's a really interesting thing to think about.
Like, obviously having a massive following is amazing for any business, but quantity and like what you're sharing, it has to be yourself. You have to be real.
Authentic.
Yeah, you have to be authentic for people to know, like, you know what, this chick, like, she's real.
Yeah.
And what she's doing is, it's inspiring.
And how did you work out what your authentic online self looked like? This has actually come up as a bit of a theme. We obviously talk about housing too, but we do have a lot of content creators that we work with, and we have spoken about actually that challenge to find what your authentic content is.
Yeah. I guess I kind of just post what feels good for me.
Yeah.
I know heaps of people have niches, but sometimes when you have a niche, it's so hard to just stick to that one niche, and like, you don't get to show all of yourself.
Yeah.
So it doesn't get to show like all sides of you being authentic. But that's just for me personally. Like, I like to share like different things. Like, I like to cook, and I love to travel, and I also like talking about money and finance and stuff like that too.
So you kind of go with actually, take a look into my life. These are all the things that I love, essentially.
Yeah.
Awesome. And that's obviously helped you. Did that help you build your deposit? Or, you know, I know you said you obviously didn't have as much as your brothers, but was that a big contributor? Or
No, it wasn't actually. So I had my deposit before I started affiliate marketing. Cool. So when I built my whole house deposit on a 9 to 5. Nice. It was just from working my whole life. That's what it was from.
And you've just obviously been able to now take that, move into the first property, and now you've got to rebuild the deposit again.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a challenge when you try to go again. You spoke a little bit before about the challenges being finding the property, and I know in market. When did you purchase? It was quite recent, wasn't it?
No, it was a while ago.
Oh, was it?
2020.
2020. So there was still probably a bit of competition in market there. Now we've sort of seen less listings in market and still a decent amount of competition. So I guess that's a similar problem really, as the competition and struggling to find that property. What about sort of due diligence and doing your research on the properties? Did you find that to be time consuming? And what sort of tips do you have first home buyers when going through that?
We looked kind of like in newspapers even. We looked on OneRoof.
Yeah.
And we looked on Trade Me as well. But that was just what we knew at the time.
Yeah, I think Trade Me is a massive platform in terms of all the listings and everything, and you can look on the agent websites and things. Did you do like a degree of research into, you know, making sure that a property was a good purchase? Level of research did you do?
We kind of learnt from my dad.
Yeah.
So my dad, my parents are homeowners in Takanini.
Yeah.
And he was the one that encouraged us, like, you guys should look at buying a first home. You guys have money.
Yeah.
Do it. And so he was kind of the one that guided us when we were
And
buying.
looked through kind of which properties might be a good investment or...
Yeah, like we had the final decision, but like Dad was kind of guiding us, like, you guys need to make sure you get the builder's report and do the inspections, you know, the pee and crack one or whatever. But yeah, he was the one that guided us. So we were lucky in that sense where we actually had someone that had knowledge around how to buy a home. Whereas I know not everyone has that knowledge or has someone that knows.
Yeah,
So,
and for some it can be such a long time ago as well that they can't necessarily remember exactly what the steps were maybe that they needed to undertake.
Yeah.
So with this next journey, like obviously you're sharing the expenses in your current home and you're looking at moving into that next property. Mm-hmm. Are you looking at keeping the first property that you purchased with your brothers as part of that, or what are you thinking?
Well, that's up to my brothers really.
Yeah.
So it's all kind of just a waiting game in terms of like what they would also like to do, because I'm not going to put them in a position where they're going to have to leave or or sell and then they're going to struggle. Our main thing with all three of us is everyone has to make sure they're all good.
Yeah. Do you have an expectation on what the strategy might be, like whether or not you are all going to sell the property at some time or whether you're going to keep it for a period of time, or have you not really ironed that out yet?
We're all going to keep the property for now, but we haven't talked about selling yet. So selling isn't really something we're keen on doing. If it comes to it though, I know that we will all sell. We get back our deposits each and then we split the rest. Yeah. That's how we're doing it.
So you separate the deposits from what you're repaying. So you take your deposits out first and then anything that you've repaid, you split.
Yeah, and then the rest is split.
And how do you sort of split that? Is that sort of...
It's even. Yeah, evenly split.
Yeah, so like 33.333.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. And what about the living costs in the home as well? Because you have sort of your fixed fees, which might be, you know, rates, maintenance, insurance, those fees that come with owning a property.
Yeah.
And then you also have your variable costs, which is your power, your net, even your food potentially if you guys share that. How do you guys manage those costs?
Yeah, we split everything evenly. Yeah. So all of our communal bills are like your power, your water. We all eat the same food as well, which is really good. I'm the designated food shopper, but even for food, I just go food shopping for the whole week. Yeah. And I already have our like dinners set of what we're eating. Like, so a lot of pre-planning goes in place.
They probably love that too, though. Yeah, if they're like,
they're just like, we'll just give you the bill.
Yeah, perfect. So,
but yeah, we just split everything. It's just 3 ways. It just makes it easy.
Nice. And you guys didn't think about getting a legal agreement or anything to support you with it? You can get a property sharing agreement, which sort of provides, I guess, protection around, yes, we agreed that around the decisions that you've made. So we agreed we're going to take the deposits out first and then we're going to share everything else. So this is how we're going to, you know, unwind the purchase in the future. So there are agreements that kind of set those sort of decisions in stone so that if any change of circumstances happen, you know exactly what your expectations were.
I remember us talking about what we were going to do if we were to sell, because there's heaps of different ways to sell the house, say like what happens with money.
Yeah, you can be like first right to purchase goes back to one of your brothers, for example, if you want to sell your share, or you can say, no, we all agree to sell the house, or actually, you know, we can't sell the house for a period of time, or there's a lot of different decisions that you can make to protect sort of your relationship.
I can't remember. I just know that we're just going to do the deposit and then split the rest.
Yeah, and you had sort of, at least it sounds like you had a lot of those discussions and decisions up front. Yeah. And you obviously have like high trust with your with your family. But that is something that we do offer with Slice now, so we've tried to make that a lot easier.
Ah, nice.
For those that don't necessarily know what decisions need to be made, and also just where there can be, a change of circumstances down the line. For example, if someone gets a partner, they then have a claim over the property.
Yeah, that's smart.
Yeah. So there's things like that, I mean, maybe you should take a look at online, but there's things like that kind of can come into play down the line. But for now, it sounds like you guys are still in alignment. I think the challenge is where people haven't had the discussions as well and haven't kind of found shared agreement before purchasing, and then they purchase and then they find out they weren't on the same page or something like that.
Yeah.
And that can be really damaging to your relationship. But
I've seen that happen actually.
have you?
Yeah.
Who did you see that? You don't have to name names, but what was the situation that you...
Oh, I don't know if I should say, but it was just family members gone wrong.
Purchasing property gone bad.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, so I mean that's the challenge, and that's where these kind of agreements and arrangements come in really handy. We do them all for fixed fees, but it's with aim to prevent sort of that challenge. Yeah, the family property purchase gone wrong. Yeah. So I purchased my first home actually leveraging from my mum, and we went through sort of the decision analysis and everything like that.
Nice.
And yeah, it's a great opportunity to purchase with family, but there obviously is risk involved.
Yeah, I think co-ownership for a home is like the best way to get into property. That's just my personal opinion.
I share that opinion.
Very good.
So yeah, I mean, Slice, a big part of what we do is co-ownership, but we really support with every type of home buyer, particularly focused on those that are going the first time and making that process easy with our home buyers software.
Yeah.
But a lot of kind of the protection and the products that we provide are around co-ownership, because it does help you get in sooner.
Yeah.
Like if you hadn't bought with
100%.
your brothers, when do you think you might have been able to purchase?
Probably like now,
Maybe?
or like
Another 3 years?
Yeah,
3
like-
years later?
It just makes sense. If you have someone that you trust and you're keen to buy a home with, it just makes sense because it's a lot easier to manage.
Yeah, the
And
costs and everything.
I know so many people that are really struggling now that they've bought a home, and with obviously just life, everything's just
Cost
going
of
up.
living.
Actually hard for them to manage their mortgage now. So it's gotten to a point where like they're looking at just selling the home or something like that.
Yeah, you've identified a really great point there, which is we sort of spoke with our investors actually about, whether or not we should be encouraging co-ownership where you do have potentially high mortgage rates and potentially property prices fluctuating. But ultimately, if you can hold your property over that period of fluctuation, and if you can manage the, increased interest rates, then you're fine. And with co-ownership, you're more able to, as you said, because you're sharing the costs.
Yeah.
So when interest rates go up, it pings, but it only pings you by 33.333% of the mortgage repayments, as opposed to 100% of those repayments. So it's a lot more manageable when you actually do it together.
Yeah.
And as you said, maybe you could purchase now and that would be 3 years later.
Yeah.
So it also helps you get in sooner, which is a great opportunity. And not everyone's, killing it with affiliate marketing, so it could take them even longer than 3 years.
Exactly.
What advice would you give to your younger self?
I don't know, just don't hold yourself back from opportunities, I guess. Like, we come across so many different opportunities. For me, it was the online space. But we hold back just because out of the fear of something, whether that's just judgment from other people. Like, I don't know, maybe even you starting this podcast, you could have been potentially scared of like judgment from others.
I think it's the content space. I admire people, like I was saying to you before we started the episode today. I admire people that are able to hold the phone in front of their face, because it doesn't come naturally to most people. It's not as easy as it looks. Yeah. And with the consistency and the amount of content you have to throw out. So for sure, that's been a challenge for me to get used to as well. And you're right, it's the fear of getting started
it is.
that can really get in the way.
And majority of the time, the reason that we're scared to do something, that opportunity is actually the thing that's going to solve your problems. Like, we're not looking
So
at
you
it
also don't
otherwise.
focus on your problems so much necessarily, focus on the opportunities and they'll start to solve those problems.
Exactly, that's what they're there for.
Yeah, I mean, if you put that barrier in front of yourselves, you're not going to take the actions that you need to actually take that opportunity.
Yeah.
Much like co-ownership, if you went, oh, I can't afford property, you know, it's not going to be available to us. Instead, your dad said, hey, what if you guys could do this? And you stuck your hand up and said, yeah, I want to be a part of this conversation.
Yeah.
Like, you could have said, oh, I'm too young, or that's probably why Dad didn't suggest it to me first.
Yeah, I think he just didn't know that I'd be that keen.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
I wasn't prepared.
Yeah, which is great, though, that you were. And I think that's what we need to encourage our audience to do, is actually stick your hand up and go, how much can I get? Tell me.
Yeah.
I was in an Uber coming back from a comedy night last night and talking to him, and I was with my friend in the car, and he was saying, oh, I've got about this much sort of for a deposit. And I think he said 50K. And I was like, yep, you could do that. There's 5% deposits that you could get a property for with that. That is possible. And he was like, what? And I was like, yep, that's possible. And then he's like, how much would my weekly repayments cost for a $650,000 house? Because I've seen one out in, I think it was like Henderson area.
Yeah.
So I was checking out on our own website on the calculator at slicetobuy.com, and I was like, yeah, that's going to cost you around about $700 as an estimate per week. And he was paying $500 in rent per week anyway. So I was like, can you top that up by $200 and own the house? That's the question, you know. But he had no idea, and he was like, what is this website, like, what is it that you do? I did not think that this was possible.
Yeah.
And that's the barrier, the first major barrier that Kiwis need to get past, is actually no, I can't afford it because I do eat avocado on toast. So, you know,
a lot of, I think this might be sad to say actually, but a lot of people aren't willing to make some sacrifices for them to purchase their first home, even though they say they want one.
Yeah.
That's what I find. Like you're saying, like, you'd rather eat your avo on toast instead of having some good old wheat bix for a little bit.
But you know what? With co-ownership, you can do both.
Oh, yeah, you're not wrong.
You can still have your avo on toast because you're not having to take on the full responsibility. But I mean, there's different opportunities there, and we work with a variety of schemes. Like, we were working with Kāinga Order, still do, but they've got one of their schemes on hold. Took a few people through and got them like $200,000 extra towards their houses.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, NZ Housing Foundation, You Own, ERA. There's a bunch of different schemes that we can support with, and it is. Once you start making the purchase, then you have to get comfortable with making sacrifices, potentially also sacrificing on the dream home that you thought you were going to buy, and being more realistic about what you can afford on that first one. But I think, yeah, there's two kind of key points there, and the first is, don't say you can't do it before you've even looked into it, and then get realistic with your expectations and start making some compromises so that you can do it. Yeah. And even if it's not an immediate thing and you can't do it today, if you sort of start on that journey and start understanding what the finances need to look like. Yeah,
that's a big one.
Yeah. Then you're closer. Like, now all of a sudden you're like, cool, ready to go again, saving my deposit with so much, confidence and pep in your step because you've done it before. But the first time people just go, there's this big narrative that no one can afford houses, so I'm just not going to try.
Yeah, seen that a lot.
Sad, but hopefully education and hearing about, inspiring stories like yours, purchasing with your brothers at 24, hopefully that encourages others to explore those options and opportunities, as you said, that are actually there and waiting to solve your problems.
Yeah, I really think finances is a big one, like the understanding of just living within your means.
Yeah.
That's massive.
And then when your income increases, not necessarily increasing
because your income is bigger. Yeah, it's just like you live within your means, you're actually able to save so much that you can put towards a house deposit. That's literally how me and my brothers created our house deposit, was through living within our means, like our whole life.
And actively working, actively saving.
Yeah, we always worked at like a very young age, and that was just because we didn't get any money.
Yeah, you needed it.
So we wanted money and we wanted to buy things, but we couldn't unless we had a job.
What was your first job?
Oh, my first job was a gymnastics coach at Bruce Pullman Park in Takanini.
That's such a cool job, though.
Yeah, so I used to do gymnastics growing up, and then I was 14.
Wow,
And I went into the gym and I asked one of my old coaches if I could coach. And then she gave me the opportunity to coach, and I was getting paid for it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And doing something that you loved anyway.
Yeah, and I loved it. It was fun. It was my first job, and I had a blast.
Yeah, I think if you can identify the things that you love and that you're good at and then create those opportunities, that's a massive part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Well, we've got one last question for you, which is, if your co-owned first home had a doorbell on it and that doorbell played a theme song, what theme song would it play?
Oh my gosh. Only because I've just come back from Japan. It'd probably be that donkey song that from the shop. It's like dun 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 donkey. Anyone that's been to Japan will know what it is.
We'll know it.
Yeah.
We'll have to tack it into the end of the episode or something.
Yeah. My brother came back with like
donkey.
My brother came back with like a little thing, so it plays the theme song, but I can't think of anything else.
You can just hang it on your door so that people can listen to it on their way in.
Yeah, get a bit annoying after a while though.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for joining us, Dee. It's been lovely.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining our community. Buying property isn't easy, but listening in will get you one step closer on your journey. Please leave an Apple or Spotify review and provide feedback so we can improve your experience. Join our Facebook group, A Safe Space to Learn Together, or follow us on Instagram at Slice2Buy. If you have any questions or topics you would like us to touch on, you can email us at hello@slice2buy.com. A quick reminder, Slice the podcast does not provide personalised investment advice. We are not acting as financial advisors or taking into account your circumstances. To get personalised advice, join us at slice2buy.com and engage with our partners who can act as your financial advisor or lawyer and support you with your specific needs.